Hi, my name is Laura Dunn, and I am the assistant lacrosse coach at Catholic University. So, when choosing a story for this case, I thought that I would choose something close to my experience in sports. So, the story that I chose was of the Louisville basketball bribery and corruption scandal and their association with Adidas. So, the story in this case is about Rick Pitino, the head men's basketball coach at Division I University of Louisville, and Jim Gatto, the global marketing rep at Adidas that Pitino worked closely with. In this case, they worked behind the scenes to secure a $100,000 bribe from Adidas to recruit Brian Bowen, one of the nation's top basketball recruits. Supposedly in the story, they offered him the bribe on June 1st, and then he committed to Louisville on June 3rd, which was very unexpected because he was from Michigan and everyone expected him to go somewhere in Michigan or somewhere else, but not Louisville. And so he made this commitment, and the FBI stuck a probe into the case and found Pitino and Gatto, among others, guilty for bribery and corruption. And this story, sadly, is not the only one like this. A lot of college Division I men's basketball teams are now being uncovered for bribery and corruption in recruiting. But this case in particular, I think, related very well to the principles that we had talked about in class. The most important being subsidiarity, and then the virtue of prudence. I think that this story relates to subsidiarity because the definition of subsidiarity that I thought related to the case involved subsidiarity protecting people from abuses by higher level social authority and calling on the same authorities to help individuals and intermediate groups to fulfill their duties. So the definitions of subsidiarity in the text were mostly related to government and how higher authorities shouldn't mandate necessarily anything that could be accomplished by the lower powers. And I think that this relates to the bribery because the player was able to make this decision on his own, but the bribe in turn coerced him into making the decision to choose Louisville. His family probably needed the money, so they took the bribe and he chose Louisville over possibly another school that he wanted to go to, and wasn't really his decision because he was coerced by the bribe. And I think that this higher level of the school and Adidas really took control of the situation, and they didn't give Brian Bowen and his family a true opportunity to see through their own decision and act independently without the bribery of $100,000 and the corruption that was in Adidas and the Louisville program. Another point to this is that Rick Pitino had been involved in this many times with many recruits, just like many other basketball coaches probably are. And his actions were wrong and really only geared toward the end, not the means and how to get there. And this brings me to the next point, that Rick Pitino violated the virtue of prudence because his actions were not good, and by definition, prudence makes an action good. And the three parts of prudence that I thought were important for this: deliberation, judgment, and choice. Rick Pitino deliberately chose to act corruptly and give the bribe to the Bowen family. He made the judgment, probably knew that it was a bad decision because it was illegal, and he kept it under wraps. And then he made the choice. He made the choice to offer the bribe to the family and recruit the player, and it ended up working for a brief second until the FBI discovered everything, and ultimately Rick Pitino was fired. And I think that this story was a really good example for these principles, and sadly there are a lot of other cases of this going on, but hopefully things can be sorted out and these principles will be followed in the future. Thank you.